Hi everybody, if you don't know me already, my name is Kaylee. I'm a gut health nutrition coach and I help people to overcome their chronic gut and digestive issues using the principles of ancestral nutrition as well as some other holistic health principles. And in today's video, I am going to be answering your guys' gut health and nutrition related questions. So at last week's video, I asked you guys what your questions were. I put a little link down below. I asked my Instagram followers and I also asked my email subscribers all what their questions were. So I'm answering those ones today. And if you want to know where I'm at with my email subscribers and Instagram, all that, I have links down below. And if you're wondering why I'm swatting things around, the horseflies are out today. Anyways, so I will answer the question shortly, but I did want to let you guys know I have a couple spaces open in my program, Ancestral Gut Healing, right now. So if you are interested in getting help in overcoming your gut issues for good, be sure to stick around till the end. I'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, so question number one is about GI issues and restricted breathing. So, hey, just feels like I can never get a satisfying breath because there's no room, kind of drives me mad. Would like to hear your take on it. Okay. So it definitely could be gut health related. I don't think that's the whole picture here, but it definitely seems like that's part of it. So there's a few things that could be going on. One could be a microbiome issue because when our microbiome gets off and we have an overgrowth of pathogenic microbes, they really love producing gas. So when they're eating the leftover food in our large intestine that we didn't eat, so it's going to be fiber. If we had poor digestion and didn't break things down well, there's going to be some excess waste there. So when they're eating that, they produce a lot of gas, and that creates usually more bloating in the lower GI tract. But we try to get gas out two different ways, burping and farting. So, you know, it could be that your gas is just traveling up more and getting in that region. So that's one possibility. There's a few other things that could kind of contribute. So make sure you're like chewing your food really well and you're eating relaxed and you're upright, all just to facilitate better digestion and making sure everything in that upper GI tract region is working really well. Also, make sure you're like closing your mouth when you eat and not trying to talk and eat at the same time, or what can end up happening is you can end up swallowing some air and kind of creating gas and pressure in that sort of way. So that's the main things I see on the GI side of things. But you know, there could be some other things going on. It never hurts to really like practice more your breathing. So what I would do is I would focus on really doing deep breaths. It can really help to do it in the heat. So in like a hot shower is a perfect spot, or a steam room or sauna, but hot shower is fine. Today it's so hot outside, that would work too. But really focus on doing deep, full, long breaths. And I think that'll help a lot. I remember when I was younger, I went to a hot yoga class, and afterwards I felt like my breaths were just so full and so deep. The heat really dilates things and expands your, you know, esophagus pretty much, so it should give you a lot more room to breathe. So I would practice that. You can look up specific methods if you want. You can try like Wim Hof, that really gives you full deep breaths, or, you know, another one, whatever you like. But I definitely practice those breaths too. I think that would help you a lot. Okay, second question. I notice I avoid drinking water because literally the second I drink, I feel full. Basically always feel full, and this affects everyday things like drinking and breathing. Would be interested to hear how it relates to stomach constipation issues. Okay, so feeling full all the time is the main problem here, and that absolutely relates to constipation and other gut issues. So really, you want to figure out that constipation, because when you're all backed up, your body, you don't want to eat more, because if you eat more, there's going to be more waste that's just going to pile on top of the other waste you're not able to get rid of. And you know, you just feel all full and backed up and funky. You just don't feel like eating when you're constipated. So you really want to address that at the root. I have lots of videos on that. I talk about that all the time, but you really want to get that going. And then some other things that can just decrease your appetite or stress. When you're stressed, you just don't feel like eating. All your energy is going out into fight or flight, sympathetic mode, and you're in that mentality. You're not in the rest and digest mode. Stress, just your body's not prepared to digest food, so it really lowers your appetite. So if you're feeling stressed at all, you know, you really want to address that. When you sit down to eat, you want to be, you want to be really calm and relaxed and feel hungry. Yeah, so that's going to be really important. And then let's see, if you just have a weak digestion or other gut issues, that absolutely contributes. So if you have weak stomach acid, you're not going to be able to break down your food as efficiently. If your microbiome is off, that's going to cause a lot of problems like bloating, which is not going to help with your appetite. So yeah, if you just aren't digesting food well, that's absolutely going to contribute. Yeah, you just really want to focus on your eating habits too. So, you know, spacing your meals properly, 3 hours apart, eating 3, 4, maybe 5 times a day, but usually 3 or 4 works best. Having balanced protein, fat, and carbs with your meal. You can also focus on eating a little more calorically dense foods. So like fatty foods like dairy, meat, eggs are all going to be really good. And like sometimes fruit juice or something like that can kind of help too, as long as it's really good quality and you're eating it with a protein. All of that will help you to get a little more calories in if you're still feeling like full and having a hard time. But overall, yeah, you really want to stick with easy to digest foods too. You know, don't go having like a bunch of cold foods or a bunch of grains or nuts or seeds, or, you know, you want to stick to the meats and the cooked veggies and the fruits and the foods that are really going to be easy for your body to digest. And then I would just avoid drinking a lot of water around meals. It's going to dilute your stomach acid. It's going to make your digestion worse. And yeah, if you're feeling full from water, you don't want to fill up at mealtime on drinks if you're already struggling to get enough food. So yeah, that's kind of my main takeaway here is it's absolutely connected. You know, work on those gut issues at the root and it should really help your appetite to come back. I see this all the time with clients. I work with a lot of people that aren't eating very much when we start working together. My client Alexa, she tracked her macros too, and she was eating around 1,000 calories when we started working together. And, you know, through really working on her gut issues, getting her not constipated anymore, getting her having 5+ daily or 5 healthy bowel movements a week that were full, really working on her digestion, working on not being stressed so much for her. All of that helped so much, and she was able to get up to 1,500 to 2,000 calories in about, I would say about 8 weeks, maybe a little bit less. So yeah, these things really help a lot. Okay, 3. Why or why not should a meal contain all 3 macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbs? Okay, I really like this one. And I think that meals should absolutely contain all 3. It works really well this way. There's a few reasons. One is each macronutrient has different functions. There's some overlap here, but they're important for different reasons. So we need all 3. So I'll get into that and then I'll explain why all 3 together. So protein, you know, obviously it's good for muscle mass, but it's also really important for satiation, for our immune system, for the structure in our body, for fluid balance, and for so many other things. Fat is important for our hormones. It's important for padding our organs. It's important for our cell membranes. It makes bile, which helps you digest fat. Fat holds the fat-soluble nutrients, so vitamin A, D, E, and K. And fat is important for energy. That's like one of the biggest ones. Carbs are also a good source of energy. And then carbs are really helpful for your metabolism. So as opposed to just running off fat for fuel all the time, if you have a little bit of carbs in there, it can kind of boost your metabolism. And it's also really nice for your thyroid health, your adrenal health. It's just kind of calming you down. So if you tend to be more of a stressed person, I wouldn't go like keto, no carb. That can make you a little more stressed. You need glucose to convert T4 into T3, which is a very important thyroid hormone conversion that has to happen. So yeah, so glucose can be really important for that. So they all have different functions. They're all important. And then when you eat them together, that's also important. So if you have carbs alone, you're going to get a blood sugar spike because you don't have the protein and fat to kind of slow things down. They also have a really nice satiating component to your meal. So you're basically going to get, you know, that kind of sugar high, or maybe not if you're eating healthier carbs, but you're going to get this burst of energy and then you're going to crash, and you're also going to get hungry again sooner, which is going to make it harder to space your meals by 3 hours apart. So we don't want carbs alone. We want them with protein and fat as well. Protein alone, you don't have an energy source with, so, you know, not the end of the world if it's every once in a while, but you're really going to function better if you get to replenish your energy stores at the same time that you're eating the protein. And then I have not really heard of people eating fat alone much. It just seems a little weird to me, but yeah, I mean, you need protein and carbs for other things. Your meals should be very intentional. We're not going to be snacking throughout the day. That's not good for you. So you need all of them. It's best to just get them all together. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Do you work with dietary supplements with your patients? Okay. So not really. A little bit, but barely. So I really have a food first approach, and I also have a nose to tail approach. So I focus on helping people to get their nutrients from their diet. So basically, we look at nose to tail. So our ancestors, when they would hunt, they would eat the whole animal. They wouldn't just eat part of it. So they would eat the organs, they would eat the muscle, they would eat the tough cuts, they would eat the bones, they would use them for broth, they'd scoop out the bone marrow, they would really use the whole animal. And this is part of that ancestral approach that I have, is following some of these principles that really made a lot of sense. When you eat the whole animal, you get all the nutrients you need, because there's another principle called like heals like. So basically, if you eat your heart, it's good for your heart, or not your heart. If you eat a heart, like a deer's heart, it's good for your heart. If you eat liver, it's good for your liver, and so on. If you eat bones, it's good for your bones. So yeah, so this helps you to get the nutrients you need, because, you know, a heart is rich in the nutrients that your heart needs to function. A liver, one of the reasons liver is so nutrient dense is because liver requires a lot of nutrients for its detoxification processes. There's a phase 1, there's a phase 2, they require tons of nutrients. So liver has all those nutrients on hand to perform those detoxification systems. Or processes. So when you eat liver, it's going to give you the exact nutrients you need to do the exact same thing. So that's where the like heals like comes into play. And basically, when you're just eating, when you're eating the whole animal, close to the portions of the animal, you're gonna get those nutrients you need. But I do go a little further, because, you know, you need to eat a little more things than just a whole animal. So yeah, so I do look more into that. I have a nutrient guide that I give to people that gives you the best sources of all the nutrients you need, which ones are bioavailable in the right form, things you're going to be able to use. So I go into fruits and things like that and veggies that will help you as well, but it's primarily going to be really good animal foods. Yeah, so I do the whole food first thing, but some people don't like eating organs. Some people, I tell them to include liver in their diet, and they're all stoked, and they're like, I love liver, I can't wait to try it. I do actually have people like that, I'm not making that up. But there are a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't want liver. So I do use the organ supplements for people that don't want to include it in their diet. I give a lot of different suggestions on how to include it. You know, you can sneak it into meals with your ground beef, you can sneak it into soups, you can just have a little side of it. You can get the liver crisps. You can cook liver on your own. You can make pate. You can do so many things. But if you want the easiest way ever, you can use those organ supplements. I like ancestral supplements and heart to soil, but there's a lot of good ones out there. So yeah, so I will use organ supplements just because they're so great. I mean, it's a real food. It's the organ, and then it's dried out and ground into a powder. So it's so much better than those synthetic vitamins or some of the funky ones that you don't really quite know what's in there. So I will use organ supplements, and then I'll use a little bit of cleansing supplements. Sometimes this is totally optional. It's usually like I'll give people a lot of different things that will help with like your liver, your lymph, and then I'll let them just choose what feels best to them. So some of my clients like to use like activated charcoal or something like that when we start working on detoxing and just helping your body's detoxification systems work well. So yeah, some clients will choose to do that. Some come to me already eating some supplements, and I'll give them suggestions based on their diet, like, okay, maybe you don't really need this one. Or, you know, keep it if you want, up to you. But yeah, so I'm not really big on supplements because they're just not always the best quality, and you're not always using them. So I think it's just much more reliable to get it from your food, and you really can if you're willing to do the nose to tail route. So yeah, that's what I do there. Let's see. Okay, next question. Is healing without eating organs possible? So I would say it's probably possible, but it's just a harder way to go about it. Organs are just so reliable for their nutrients. They're so nutrient rich and it's all balanced so nicely. So like liver, for example, is great for your iron levels because it has iron and it has retinol, vitamin A, and it has copper in it. So the vitamin A turns the copper into the active form of copper, and the copper loads the iron onto the transferrin molecule in your body. So they just like all work together really nicely. And then you get them in balanced portions because nutrients also compete with each other for binding sites in your body. So if you're loading up on one nutrient way too much, you can end up creating a deficiency of another one. So there's a lot that goes into nutrients that's kind of complicated. So I like to really just trust nature and follow the organ meats, and they really work out well. But yeah, so it's probably possible. I mean, I'd say it's, yeah, most likely possible, but like I don't see why you wouldn't want to use them. Like they're so awesome. Well, actually I do. There's a lot of reasons. So, okay, if you don't like the taste of organs, I would do the organ supplements or find a way to kind of sneak it in. Like I mentioned before, in ground beef or just mixed in with a meal. Yeah, I would do something like that, or yeah, get the supplements. Yeah, that's kind of all I have there. So yeah, not 100% necessary, but I do think they're super beneficial. So yeah, if you don't like the taste or anything, I would just go for the supplements instead. Okay, so question number 6. Histamine reactions plus bloating, but hate organ meats, especially kidney. Okay, so kidney is really, really beneficial for histamine reactions. So it's unfortunate that you don't like that one. Kidney it has a DAO, and it also has B12 and selenium, and all of those support histamine, help break it down, and yeah, they just work really well there. So I would say, again, you know, just get the kidney supplements. The kidney organ supplements would be great. That would be my biggest recommendation there, you know, avoiding the high histamine foods. Short term is beneficial. You also really want to work on healing your gut, getting a nutrient dense diet down, you know, decreasing stress, really getting your body to a healthy place. And all of that should help a lot. So I would say the kidney supplements are just kind of the little catalyst there that'll help it go a little bit faster. If you're totally opposed though, you can most likely do it without them. But yeah, they would definitely be helpful. But yeah, you can work on avoiding low histamine foods for now. And then, like I said, really working on your gut health and getting everything healthy there, and that should help a lot. Okay. Oh, and for bloating, because you mentioned bloating too, you want to look at your microbiome. So I mentioned earlier, when the microbiome is off and there's a bunch of pathogenic microbes, then you're going to get a lot of bloating and gas. So you definitely want to work on that. I have a whole video on that, so I'll link that up above so you can check that out if you want to. Okay, next question. Hi, question is if you think this is an HPA axis issue. Using caffeine to get things moving in the AM, then also exercising, weight training some HIIT, while always eating breakfast before caffeine, 140 milligrams of yerba mate, I know it's a lot, and then feeling totally wigged out all day and overly hungry and sensitive to caffeine after having a bowel movement. Goes away by dinner time. I try to have protein for breakfast, eggs with carbs, and more protein plus carbs with lunch too. Okay, so I think it being an HPA axis issue is part of it, but not all of it. By the way, that's hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So I think with the caffeine sensitivity and that wigged out feeling, it makes sense that it's probably, you know, related to your adrenals. Yeah, so I do think that's part of it, but there's a few other tips and things that kind of came up for me when reading that. So one is, you said in there that you feel like you're eating or drinking a lot of caffeine. So I think that's a huge clue that you're probably drinking too much caffeine. So I would cut back on that. You can cut back on the amount. You can switch what you're drinking. You know, chai can balance out the caffeine a little better with the cinnamon and cardamom and cloves and the milk in there. It just kind of balances out the effects a little more. It's great you're eating the drinking the caffeine after meals and having carbs, like, to help balance it out. That's awesome. So I say cut back on that caffeine a little bit. It sounds like your adrenals probably can't handle that much right now. That should help a lot. You can also do some things to support your adrenals. Sounds like you're balancing your meals well. Just make sure you keep up with that. Getting plenty of minerals. You can try adrenal cocktails. So I like to do sparkling juice, lime juice and salt, or I like to do sparkling water, grapefruit juice, and a pinch of salt. And there's tons of ones online that are fancier, or you know, you can stick to the super simple like I do. So you can do things like that to help your adrenals. Really work on your stress levels, you know, make sure you're getting enough sleep. All of that should help a lot. Don't do a lot of fasting, intermittent fasting, or things like that. That's not going to be super kind to your adrenals right now. And just really make sure you're getting enough nutrients in as well. So that should help on that side. Then the other thing I wanted to note here is you were talking about how you're using caffeine to help have bowel movements. So it's totally fine to do that on occasion if you're constipated and you just need a little help, or it's fine if like caffeine is stimulating your bowel movements, like giving you the urge, but you don't want to depend on it. So if you feel like you're depending on it, or if when I said decrease the caffeine, you're like, oh no, how will I have a bowel movement? That's a very clear sign that you need to work on the constipation at the root. So yeah, so I would definitely work on that. I have a whole video on the most common root causes of constipation, so I'll link that one up above, and you can look into that and start seeing what you think is causing your constipation. But you want to get that, you want to get yourself going on your own without the need for caffeine. You want to decrease that caffeine a little bit, and you want to support your adrenals, and that should help you not get that wigged out feeling later. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. I hope that was helpful. So I have a video on my top 5 tips to overcome stress and activate the parasympathetic mode. So I think that would be really helpful for you too. So I'll link that one up above as well. And yeah, okay, that brings me to the next question. So that is, which proteins and which amino acids am I missing for my gut health? And in general, if I only eat lean meat and poultry, how can I fix this without supplements to get all the amino acids and proteins in a balanced and equal ratio? So first of all, that's great that you're eating meat, because animal products are called a complete protein. So that means that they contain all the amino acids and they contain it in a pretty darn good ratio. Plant proteins are incomplete. They don't contain all the amino acids, and they're often in not a very good ratio. So basically think of this as building muscle. The amino acids are the ingredients, and building protein. So this is not just muscle. This is all proteins your body needs. The amino acids are the ingredients. And if you are low on one, that's like being low on a crucial ingredient in a recipe, and it limits the amount you can make. So if you're making marinara sauce and you need, super simple here, a tablespoon of olive oil, 4 cups of tomatoes, and half an onion, and you have a whole bottle of olive oil, you're good on that. And you've got 2 onions and you've got 8 cups of tomatoes. Your, 2 onions means if you only need half, you could make 4 batches. But your tomatoes, you need 4 cups and you only have 8, so you can only make 2 batches. That's the limiting factor there, so you can only make 2 batches of your marinara sauce. So it's the same kind of thing with amino acids. If you're really low in one, it's going to limit the amount you can make. And if you don't get that through your diet, your body will probably start breaking down your muscle to be able to get that amino acid, so it can make proteins for other things that are more important than muscle in your body. So structure related things and immune system related things and other things your body needs proteins for, enzymes and stuff like that. So it's great that you're eating meat already. That's a huge win over eating plants. So then on top of that, to get an even more balanced amino acid structure or profile, you want to eat nose to tail. So basically muscle meats are going to be higher in some, and then like collagen rich tough cuts of meat. So your bones, your bone marrow, bone-in skin on poultry, oxtail, slow cooked cuts of meat that are like tough cuts that you cook slow so that you can eat them. All of that is going to be higher in collagen. So that's going to be a little bit higher in glycine, alanine, hydroxyproline, and glutamic acid. These are all like anti-inflammatory amino acids. So to better balance your amino acid profile, you want to get more of those collagen rich foods. Let's see. Yes, I will get into the portions in a second. So muscle meat is going to be a little higher in some other ones. So it's going to be higher in cysteine, methionine, and histamine. And in excess, these can actually be a little bit pro-inflammatory. So that's why you really want to balance your meat intake in a nose to tail fashion. So what I mean by this is about 25 to 35% of our protein is actually collagen. So we really want to get those collagen rich cuts of meat because we need a lot of that. So yeah, so basically I recommend a quarter to half of your protein be from collagen rich sources. So like I said earlier, bone broth, tough, slow cooked cuts of meat, bone marrow, oxtail, bone-in, skin on poultry, anything like that. So yeah, that's kind of going to be the gist of it. So you're doing great with the animal foods, so just make sure you add a little bit more collagen in there, and then your amino acid profile will be super balanced and you'll be great protein wise. Okay, so now last question, how to get enough iodine daily without eating foods from the ocean, seaweed, fish, etc., which contain lots of mercury, etc. Okay, so I know that's a big concern, a lot of seafood containing mercury. You can always be careful of what seafood you're getting. If you're getting fish that are higher up on the food chain, they have more mercury in them. If you're getting teeny tiny little fish, they usually don't have very much in them. And then your source is going to be really important too. So, you know, you still can eat seafood if you have a good source. That's totally fine. Seaweed is really great too. Again, if you have a good source. I like the kombu seaweed that's super high in iodine, and I throw that in my bone broth. But you totally don't have to eat seafood. So other great sources are going to be dairy, eggs, cranberry juice, liver, dried prunes, and potatoes. So those are going to be great sources of iodine if you don't want to eat seafood. And then I do want to note, don't use the iodized salt. It's usually that really bad table salt that's just sodium and chlorine or chloride. And then it doesn't have all those important minerals in it that we really need out of salt. There's a lot of issues with the table salt that's iodized. It's a really poor form of iodine. It's not going to be what you need. So just wanted to note there that iodized table salt is not a good form of getting iodine. You really want to get it from food. Yeah, so I hope that answered your guys' questions well. If you have any more, feel free to leave them down below. Let me know what you thought of this Q&A style of video. I'm really curious. Let me know if I should make more of these in the future, if I should do this every once in a while. Yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys think. And yeah, thank you for watching till the end. I mentioned at the beginning that I have some space open in my program right now, so I want to talk a little bit about that. Basically, if you're dealing with gut issues, if you have constipation or diarrhea, bloating, gas, abdominal pain, skin issues, hormonal issues, you know, anything that ties back to your gut, and you're just feeling a little confused on what's causing it, and you want help understanding how your gut works, how your digestive system works, and what's causing your specific symptoms at the root, and how you can get over them, how you can get your digestive system to work like an efficient machine, how you can get your bowel movements daily and healthy and complete, and how you can understand what to eat in order to get this to happen and what to do, because there's so much conflicting info out there. So if you want to know, you know, how your body's working, how you can get it working good, and really how you can overcome those gut issues quickly and efficiently and keep them away, then my program Ancestral Gut Healing is probably a really good fit for you. And if you want to tell me more about what you're dealing with gut health wise, and you know, just talk to me and see what's going on, see if it'd be a good fit, I'd love to do that with you. So I will link a link below where you can schedule to book a call with me, and you know, we can talk more about your gut issues, what you're dealing with. I can share more about what I offer with my program, and you can decide if it's something that you want to sign up for. So yeah, I hope to talk to you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.